is it a viable category from an investment standpoint? And what I mean by that is there are certain companies that you would look at and say, that is a social location company, or that's a location technology, or something like that. Is it evolving to the point where social location is part of the fabric of everything, or is there still good opportunities that you would consider like social location plays? I mean, for instance, food spotting was up here. Food spotting has a social component, has a location component, but I think it's a food application. You know, I mean, I think it's about people who like to eat. It's more of a vertical target.
I certainly think of that as a vertical business. I think that's a fundamental category that's really important to a lot of folks. I think also what they do is, what excited me about it was, it kind of stood on its head how we thought about, how we got information about what we ate. And it took the information down to a level of granularity that you could see it was going to. That was, to me, what was most exciting was it got you down to sort of an object level interest in sort of what you desire. And I think that that's a hell of a lot more interesting than, you know, reading a book on restaurants.
For me, a couple years ago, I was sort of explicitly looking for location-enabled opportunities, and I think sort of that was where we wound up sort of finding companies like Simple Geo. And I think, you know, over time, you know, if I look at sort of our internal data, sort of our geo focus is definitely shifted to one where sort of geo is part of the fabric of a company. And I think, you know, Uber is a nice example of that, where you can't conceive of Uber existing without sort of both drivers and passengers having, you know, access to, you know, their coordinates on the map. So I think, you know, we're increasingly sort of thinking of geo as something which just should be baked into the fabric of an experience.
And I'll say kind of more unequivocally, like I think you have to be insane to invest in a company that doesn't have a social component. Like almost like batshit crazy. Because the market's so big, and people like the idea that people want to do things with their friends, like shocking insight.
So when pitching John, remember, put in a slide about your social component.
And use profanity.
Use profanity. We've talked a lot about B2C. I got a question here about enterprise location. There's been a lot of, well, not a lot, but there's been some private equity investment in enterprise. What do you think about enterprise? Different business models, perhaps more substantial ROI cases, things like that. You care, don't care? Let me actually broaden the question. What areas do you really like? If enterprise is one, talk about that, but what areas, you mentioned data, what areas do you like in social location? First?
I mean, it is a seed fund. You know, I think one of the things that we look for, it's less of a vertical orientation and more of one towards capital efficiency. So enterprise stuff tends to be difficult for us because, you know, typically you have to build out a large sales force and have longer sales cycles, and that sort of necessarily consumes capital. So, you know, I never say never, but we're looking for things where we can get a signal from the market back in a reasonably quick order to know whether or not there's
get it out there.
Yeah.
Give it 6 months, see if anyone bites.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we see a lot of opportunity on mobile and in the enterprise. And the enterprise is completely growing up. It used to be you get to your office the first day of work, you get your company laptop, your company phone, and you like be on the LAN or whatever. And now people bring their iPads and their phones and all this stuff. It's blowing up the way people think about IT, I think. And you know, so I think there's lots and lots and lots and lots of opportunities around mobile, reshaping the way we work. I think that will, in turn, that wave will tend to be more social, more location-oriented, more sensor-oriented than it's been before. I'm not sure social-local is exactly a category in the enterprise, but mobile is going to completely reshape it.
So I totally agree. So I'll go to something else. I think for social-local, I think social discovery is like, we're not even close. What's out there is really interesting. There's a lot of good companies that sort of scratch the surface. But the power of what's in your pocket right now, and it's proliferating sort of globally, we're not even close to being able to utilize that. If you take what you can do with the phone, marry it to what's already on the social networks today, absolutely, 3 years from now, the information power that we have to talk to each other, learn about each other, communicate with each other is just, it's mind-blowing, and it's not really been done. Everybody's kind of focused on Facebook today. Facebook is kind of old news. There's going to be a new social discovery business in that category, absolutely.
Let's talk real quick about exits. There's been some acquisition in this area and things like that. Who do you see as the types of companies that are IPOs, obviously, some good news there. Who do you see as likely acquirers in this business? Who are people that ought to be adding these types of social location companies to their business mix that we don't think of?
I mean, I almost think sort of what business shouldn't be adding them? I mean, you know, I turn the question around and say, you know, okay, what business should not be investing in social or location-based technologies? And I can't think of one that I would want to be part of anyone.
Okay, let me just look. Last question. What is one thing that when someone's in pitching their company that like the meeting all of a sudden just shuts off and you're just looking at your watch for how much longer this is going to go on? Well, give me one thing that if someone walks in and says, it's like, okay, I start looking at my watch because this meeting's over in my mind.
So I'll just sort of play off your last question. When people start telling me who the likely acquirers are, they're a seller. And we want to invest.
Don't pitch.
You know, we want to invest in people who sort of want to build sort of big companies. And if they're coming in at the seed stage already talking about what an acquisition might be, the likelihood that they're going to be there for the long haul, it's tough to see that.
And for me, there's almost nothing that'll break a meeting unless people don't engage. Like, I'm curious about almost everything. Like, I feel like we're in this mode now where we're reinventing the whole world. The whole world is getting reinvented around. I keep chuckling because John said the power of what's in your pocket. Anyway, like a 9-year-old mind. Anyway, so I think we're reinventing.
14-year-old.
Yeah. I think we're reinventing the whole world. And I think there's lots and lots and lots to talk about. But the thing that bugs me is when people don't engage. So the other day, I was looking at something, and I said, shouldn't this be a mobile app first? And they said, you know, we have great advisors like Mike Cabot at Twitter and John Hennessy at Stanford. I'm like, right, and a mobile app? Like, yeah, probably. And so like that was pretty much the end of that meeting. But mostly.
I can tell you what you don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me that it's a conservative plan. We both know that it's not. So why should we lie to each other?
Okay, so hopefully that was useful advice. I'd like to thank first our panel for their time. Secondly, thank you for hanging out. I'm not sure if you hang in there to hear us or because you're the pinata freaks, but good on you. And also like to thank the organizers for putting on a really good conference. It's an awful lot of work to do this. They bring a lot of people together. So Mark Evans and Diane, those guys, I think have done a really terrific job. So again, thanks to all.